Hey, what's up you guys? Thank you for joining me again. Now in this video we are going to be covering Form 5 Chapter 2, which is differentiation. Now this chapter is a very big chapter and a lot of you guys, from what I know, find it hard to understand. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break this chapter specifically into several parts. Okay, we have part 1, part 2, part 3 and so on. So each of this part, I'm going to cover different subtopics and I'll give you guys as many examples as I can so that you can understand each of the subtopic better. Alright, so for this video I'm going to cover specifically limits and also differentiation using first principle. Okay, we're going to cover these two subtopics and then we'll move on to part 2. Alright, so without further ado, let us get started. So for limits, what you have to know about limits? I give you an example. Let's say we have a straight line graph. Let's say the graph is y equals to 2x plus 1. So you got a straight line graph. Okay, if I ask you, what is the value of y when x is equals to 1? So what you can do is you can use the graph, find the y value, correct? If I ask what's the value of y when x equals to -2, -2 is here, you can plot. Okay, but this is a usual straight line graph. But what if you encounter an equation where the line is not connected fully? You see, in this equation here, it's connected fully. At any point, at any x value, I can find a y value, right? At any x value, I can find a y value, correct? But what if you encounter a question that does not allow you to find a specific point? So for example, look at this equation here. They give you that at y equals to x power 4 minus x square over x square. Now if I tell you, maybe I shouldn't write y, I write fx. If I tell you what's the value of y when x is equals to 0, so you're looking for x0, right? So obviously you're going to substitute 0 into your x value. It's like function, right? You learned before in Form 1. So you're going to get 0 power 4 minus 0 square over 0 square. In the end, you're going to get 0 over 0. And this, my friend, is not equals to 0. It's not. If you type into your calculator 0 divided by 0, you will get math error. What does this mean? It means this, when x equals to 0, the y value does not exist. That's why you get math error. Okay, so if you see from here, when x equals to 0, that means here, you can see a small hole there on the curve, right? The curve is, here is smooth curve, and then you have a small little hole there, and then it continues. What does that mean? It means that at that point, at this point when x equals to 0, that y value doesn't exist. Okay, that's why it's a hole there. So what are you going to do? How are you going to solve this kind of question? That is why we have limit. What's the meaning of limit is, when you write limit, right, you will have something like this. For example, you're going to write you're going to write limit. You write back the equation over x square, and then you're going to write x approaching 0. What does this mean? What does this limit x approaching 0 means? It means that you cannot find the exact value of x equals to 0, but you can find the point, the value that is closest to 0. So if I enlarge this graph, right, it looks like this, right? It looks like this. I enlarge the graph. So you cannot find the exact value here, but what you can do is you can find the value that is closest to this point. So maybe you can find here, 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 and so on, because all of that got value. Okay, all of here, this part, all there is value, but here there is no value. So instead of finding that actual value there, you're finding the points that are closest to that. Okay, so that's what limit is about. That's why you see here x approaching 0. It's not x equals to 0, but it's x approaching 0. So you're finding the value that is closest to when x equals to 0. Understand? So I hope you understand this. So there are 3 ways to solve limit question. Okay, the first way is, wait a minute, let me erase this. The first way is direct substitution. The second way is factorization. And the third way is rationalization. Okay, so there are 3 ways. So let's look at some examples. So question A, they asked to determine the limit for each of the following function. So what you're going to do is, the first one is you try direct substitution. Okay, that's the first step. So direct substitution is basically just substitute lah. So in this case, they say x approaching 0, right? So you're just going to substitute 0 into the x value. So you get 3 x equals to 0 minus 1. So you get -1. So this is your answer. Okay, so there is a value for this. So this is your answer. Let's try question B. Okay, this is A, this is B. So same thing. I want you all to try direct substitution first. So in this case, it's going to be square root 10 minus 2 times -3. Because x approaching 3, right? -3. So you're going to substitute that. So you're going to get 10 plus 6. So you get 16, right? So square root 16, answer is 4. Okay, so this is your answer. Now next, x minus 6 divided by, over x square minus 36. So the first thing you want to do, like I said, try direct substitution. So when you try direct substitution, what you're going to get is 0 minus 6, and then here is 0 square minus 36. So you will get negative, this is not, I made a mistake. This is x approaching 6, not x approaching 0. So it's going to be 6 minus 6 over 6 square minus 36. So you get 0 over 36 minus 36, 0. So you're going to get 0 over 0. So what is this? Math error, right? So in other words, you cannot use direct substitution. Okay, so since you cannot use direct substitution, the second method I want you to try is factorization. Can you factorize this? Answer is yes, you can factorize. So limit x approaching 6, you're going to factorize, it becomes, the bottom one you can factorize, right? So when you factorize, it gets x minus 6, x plus 6. Okay, I hope you all remember the property. Property is x square minus b square is the same as a plus b, a minus b. Okay, this is the property of factorization. So in this case, you will have this, and then you can cut. So now your limit will be 1 over x plus 6. So now you can straight away substitute the x value equals to 6. So 1 over 6 plus 6 equals to 1 over 12. So this is your answer. So fourth question, same thing. If I substitute here 0, I'm going to get 0 minus 0 plus 2 over, why am I keep substituting 0? It's not 0, by the way. Here they said x approaching 2. So it's 4 minus 6 plus 2 over 2 square is 4 minus 4. So you will get 0 over 0. Same thing. So math error. So you cannot use direct substitution. So you try the second way, which is factorization. So when you factorize this, you will get, what you will get on top? You will get x minus 2, x minus 1. And then the bottom, it will be x plus 2, x minus 2. Okay, so this is the same property as this. So you're gonna use the property to factorize. So now you can cut. Right? You always try to factorize and simplify it. Okay, so when you simplify, you will get limit x approaching 2, x minus 1 over x plus 2. So now you can substitute. So 2 minus 1 over 2 plus 2. Answer is 1 over 4. Okay, so that's your answer. Now, last two question. Limit x approaching 4. So same thing. If you substitute, you're gonna get 0 over 0. Okay, if you don't believe me, you can try. You get 0 over 0. So if that's the case, you cannot use you cannot use direct substitution. So you have to try factorization. But the question is, can you factorize? Answer is no. You cannot factorize. So what you're going to do is, you're going to see, you see, you all have learned this before in last year, Form 4. Okay, so when you learn this, it says conjugate, right? You learn about cert. How we sort of like neutralize it is, we times a conjugate. So it becomes like this. Here you times cert x plus 2, and then you do the same thing on top, times cert x plus 2. Okay, so when you multiply, you get, so you cross multiply, so you're going to get x minus 4 cert x plus 2. Okay, that's on top, and then at the bottom you will get x minus 4. Okay, if you don't know how I do that, okay, I'm going to show you. Cert x minus 2 times cert x plus 2. Okay, I'm just going to show you guys for those who don't know. So you're going to cross multiply, right? Sorry, not cross multiply. Going to multiply both of it. So you will get, so cert x times cert x, you get x, and then you get plus 2 cert x minus 2 cert x minus 4. So here you can cut, so you get x minus 4. Okay, so yeah, I hope you guys understand this. This is the basic. So now you can cut. So here you can cut, here you can cut. So now what you have left is limit x approaching 4, but your equation now is cert x plus 2, because the bottom one you already cut. So now you can substitute. So cert 4 plus 2, answer is 4. Okay, so it's pretty straightforward. Next, the last question here. If you use substitution, direct substitution, you will get same thing, 0 over 0. But you cannot even use factorization. So the only way you can do is by using conjugate. Okay, so how are you gonna, what you're gonna do is times conjugate. So which one here? You're gonna take the conjugate of the top, because the top there got cert, right? So you're gonna times 3 plus cert 2x plus 3, and the same thing at the bottom, 3 plus cert 2x plus 3. Okay, so equals to limit x approaching 3. So on the top you will get 3 square minus, so cert times cert, you will remove the cert, right? So it becomes 2x plus 3 divided by, so here you should get x minus 3, and then 3 plus cert 2x plus 3. Okay, there is no need for you to expand first, because there is a possibility you can cut them. So in the end you will get x approaching 3. So 9 minus 3, you get 6 minus 2x over x minus 3 plus 2x plus 3. Okay, so here if you notice, you can simplify this so that it becomes the same as this, right? You can simplify it. So okay, I'm going to write here, don't have enough space there. So actually it becomes like this, x, so you simplify it, you can take out negative 2, so you get x minus 3 over x minus 3 plus cert 2x plus 3. Okay, so here you can cut. So in the end you will get, so now you can straight away substitute the x equals to 3. Okay, so when you substitute, you should get negative 2 over 3 plus cert 2 times 3 plus 3. So what do you get? Negative 2 over 3 plus, so 3 times 2, 6 plus 3, 9. So you square root, you get 3. So you get negative 2 over 6, which is negative 1 over 3. So this is your answer. Alright, so that is basically it for limit. Okay, so basically what you're going to do is you are going to try direct substitution. If you get 0 over 0, that means math error. So if you get 0 over 0, you have to change it to use factorization. If you see that the question cannot factorize, then you try conjugate. Okay, so usually these three methods is good enough for you to solve it. After you've done all this, then only you substitute what they say, which is, in this case, like you see here, all of them asking for x approaching 0, x approaching 6, x approaching 4, right? So you only substitute after you have done the factorization or conjugate and all that. Alright, so we are done with limits. So now we are going to go into differentiation using first principle, which is stated here. Differentiation using first principle. Now I usually don't teach this to my students. Reason is because it is not a common question at all. Okay, but I'm going to include this in this video so that in case you want to know, or if your school teacher asks you to learn this, okay, or if you got any homework about this, at least you can watch this video to understand. Alright, so for this, there's only two things you have to know. So usually how we represent differentiation, right? We represent it as dy dx. Okay, of course there are many other representation, but in this case, to keep it general, we use it dy dx. So dy dx, if you're using first principle, right? If you're using first principle, the formula is dy dx equals to limit, which you have learned previously, limit delta x approaching 0, okay, and then delta y over delta x. Okay, this is the formula. I know what you're asking me. You're probably thinking, why? What is delta x? What is delta y? What is all this? So to find this, right? To find this part, the formula is this: delta y equals to f. So this is function. I'm sure you all learned already. F x plus x plus delta x minus fx. This is the formula to find this, and then you substitute into this limit, okay, and then you make delta x approaching 0, you will get your answer for dy dx. So dy dx will be the answer for this lah. Differentiate using first principle. Now I'm sure you don't understand, don't worry, we'll go through the example straight away. So just remember these two formulas, okay? These two formulas is good enough for you to solve this kind of question. So now, differentiate using first principle. So you see here, y equals to negative 4x. So I told you before, there's only two formula, right? First thing you have to find is find dy, no, not dy dx, delta y delta x, okay? So that you can substitute into your formula. The formula is dy dx equals to limit delta x approaching 0, delta y over delta x, okay? This is the formula, but first step you have to do is find delta x and y. So to find delta x and y, I give you the formula, right? Delta y equals to fx plus delta x minus fx, okay? So y is basically fx lah, okay? This is basically fx, same thing. So fx equals to negative 4, but now it's not fx, it's what? fx plus delta x. So what are you going to do? So okay, just recap lah for those of you who don't remember. So in the past you have learned this, right? When I tell you fx equals to x plus 1, okay? Let's say I tell you fx equals to x plus 1. If I ask you to find what is f2, so f2 is you take the x, substitute into the 2, right? So it becomes 2 plus 1. Answer is 3. But what if I tell you find for me x plus 2? So now your equation is going to be x plus 1, right? fx is x plus 1, but instead of writing x, you have to change this to x plus 2, because now your x value is x plus 2. It's no longer x, it's x plus 2. So the x value here is going to change to x plus 2, okay? So you get x plus 3. This is your answer. So in this case now, your fx is negative 4x. So if your fx is changing to fx plus delta x, so it's going to become minus 4. Instead of x, you're going to change this to x plus delta x minus fx. What is fx? Fx is the same thing, which is negative 4x. So you expand, you will get negative 4x minus 4 delta x plus 4x. So here, negative 4x plus 4x, you get 0, so no need to count anything. So you get delta y equals to negative 4 delta x. But now you're finding for what? Delta y over x, right? So what you can do is you can bring this to the other side. So you get delta y over delta x equals to negative 4. Okay, now you can substitute into your equation. Your equation now is what? Dy dx equals to limit delta x approaching 0 delta y over delta x. So what is your delta y delta x? It's going to be negative 4. So you're supposed to substitute 0 into delta x, but you don't have any delta x here. So that means your answer is negative 4. Okay? Okay? Alright, next. Question B. Now in this case, same thing. Whenever they ask for first principle, always start with, you know this formula, right? Now you want to find, the first thing you have to find is, how to find delta y over delta x. So use the formula here. So delta y equals to fx plus delta x minus fx. Okay? Why is my writing so bad? Okay, so now you're going to substitute. Now your y, your fx value is what? 6x square. So it's going to be 6. Instead of x square, you're going to write x plus delta x square minus fx is 6x square. So you're going to expand this first with the square. It becomes 6x square plus 2x delta x plus delta x square minus 6x square. Then expand this, you get 6x square plus 12x delta x plus 6 delta x square minus 6x square. So here, same thing, you can cut because it becomes 0. So now here, what you can do is, remember, you always want to shift one of the delta x to the opposite side, right? Same like the previous question. But in this case, you got 2 delta x. So what you're going to do is, you're going to factorize first. Factorize one of them out. Okay, so you're going to have, you don't want to substitute you don't want to factorize 6 is also fine. Doesn't matter. But if you want, it's also okay. So let's say I factorize that. So 6, so I'll get 6 times 2, and then here become x plus delta x equals to delta y. So you can bring the delta x to the opposite side here. You get delta y over delta x equals to 6 times 2x plus delta x. Okay, so now you have found your delta y over delta x. So now you can substitute into the formula. Dy dx equals to limit delta x approaching 0. Your delta y delta x is 6 2x plus delta x. So now you substitute what? Delta x approaching 0, right? So this one becomes 0. Okay, so you will get 6 bracket 2x plus 0. So answer is 12x. So this is your answer. Now, like I said, this particular subtopic is not common, okay, because you'll be learning a different way of differentiating, and most of the time the question will be asking the other way. Okay, This one is a very complicated and very long way of solving differentiation. So usually they don't ask. But if they do ask, at least you got this one question here for you guys to understand. Okay, so that's all for this part 1 video. I will see you on the part 2 video.